coffee.
Yeah,
It's efficient.
it is sufficient
It'll
unto
do
the
the
needs of the
job.
day.
Yeah, it
Hmm.
is,
Neither Lenten
it's pretty
nor
Lenten
Eastery. Oh, it's
coffee.
Lenten
That's
coffee.
pretty Lenten coffee.
Yeah, you've done Exodus 90,
That's
right?
like Folgers that has sat in a drawer next to something and it retained that taste with Folgers,
It's got that
which
stale Folgers air.
I kind of enjoy to a certain degree. It's got a particular nostalgia to it.
Mm,
But
right, right. Yeah.
anyway, Exodus 90, no.
I haven't done Exodus 90.
Haven't done Exodus 90 as such, but I've done uh, some fasting in my life and a lot of cold plunging.
A lot of cold. So, what's your take on cold plunging?
I just enjoy it. I don't,
You enjoy it. I tried cold plunging. I really did. I did cold plunging during Exodus 90, in fact. So I did cold plunging every day for 90 days. And then the next year, I did it again,
You did Exodus 90 2 years in a row?
2 years in a row. And the second
Wow.
time I did it was going into COVID. So we started in January of 2020. And then, so January, February were normal. And then we went into, yeah, then we went into March. And then March 13th, Wyoming. Wyoming had its first case, what, March 12th? And then by March 13th, everyone said, okay, COVID's a big deal.
yeah, dude.
Everyone stopped traveling, everyone stopped doing everything. So then we went into isolation 30, followed by COVID 365,
Good for it.
COVID
COVID
24/7,
indeed.
365.
Yeah. No, I like cold plunging like in conjunction with the sauna. Yeah.
Okay.
With being real hot and then being real cold.
Yeah.
Yep. It's had some health benefit to me, but it's also just really relaxing. And
Okay.
like, yeah, I enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't get to do it that much because I don't have that stuff at my house. But
Guy just had me take apart his office. He had lined it all with cedar boards. Maybe we should just build our own.
I'm sure that it had no kind of chemical on it or anything.
Um, well, those off gas treated cedar board.
Yeah.
Damn it. You probably have to get clean cedar. I'm sure you're right. And I'm gonna get cancer from not asking the right questions about where my wood is sourced from.
Otherwise, dude, we could just build it out of pallet wood.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be some discount. Rival Patrick. We just make discount saunas. They're pieces of crap. You open it up, the door falls off.
Yeah.
That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd just be Trailer Park Sauna.
Trailer Park Saunas. Actually, that's
Trailer
got
Park
that
Sauna Company.
that Trailer Park Saunas LLC.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how we could get
I've had the
rich.
privilege of building some nice I say sauna,
Sauna.
which is more traditional, but I've had the privilege of building a few in my life and
Hmm.
helping others build them. And it's just it's such a good hobby project too. It's very doable for a lot of people.
Hmm.
But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Exodus 90 has not happened for me, but I tried one of the groups that happened here and I was already kind of in the teeth of doing like a lot of Exodus 90 related things already and it just kind of felt like it was like too much all together at once and I was like trying to uh fast from some things already in my life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it was I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. It kind of felt like some of the guys were copping out a little bit of like, with this activity, the like Exodus 90 activity will replace or almost distract from some of the like other work I might have to be doing.
Oh, interesting.
And
Okay.
and I'm not saying this is not Exodus 90 as a whole. This was like the group of guys I was with, and I was like younger then. These were like college age guys,
Hmm.
and it was like, yeah, we're gonna stop smoking for 90 days.
Yep.
And we're going to stop X, Y, and Z for 90 days.
Right.
And granted, none of those guys had like, they were all pretty involved in their faith, but like some of it felt a little bit like a distraction from like really getting into what was going on at the time and just like
Mm.
I don't know. It's easy to feel like at least I'm doing something hardcore.
Yep. Yep.
Um, yeah, which is not judgmental of those guys at all. I'm not trying to judge those guys. It's just like that's
Yes,
how it
but I
felt for
think
me.
you named something true that you could have genuine interior work that might require different approaches
Yeah.
and modalities of treatment, even
Hmm.
perhaps. But if you say, well, I'm just going to go hug this cactus,
Yeah.
right? I'll just hug this cactus over here, and this is the Exodus 90 cactus. And then you think, all right, that will feel so intense that it'll fix these other things that actually require uh, more self-reflection than just gritting my teeth through things that are unpleasant. Although gritting your teeth through things that are unpleasant can help build up the
Discipline.
discipline and yeah, self-sufficiency to face those things. But facing those things, I think, is also necessary. So,
And for some of those things, you got to kind of like, address things one at a time,
mhm.
one issue at a time. And maybe you need to use a lot of tools to address one issue at a time, but um, it doesn't seem feasible to develop a prayer life for the first time, develop a daily routine for the first time, develop physical discipline for the first time, and overcome an addiction at the same time.
Oh,
Like,
interesting.
yeah, and as men, we're like, let's do it all right. Like,
Mm,
let's get after it. Let's get it done. And I think that, I mean, great. That spirit's good, but like, let's not crash and burn in that process
right.
and fall harder back into things we're trying to avoid. And like,
Have you ever heard Ash and Crash?
she crash. No.
Yeah, so Ash Wednesday, you
Um,
decide you're gonna fix everything about you,
hmm.
right? And then a week into Lent or the first weekend of Lent or whatever it is,
Hmm.
right? Your sleep schedule is shot. You're basically you've starved yourself, right? Yeah, Ash and Crash.
Yeah. Hmm.
And okay, so and you're saying that something like Exodus 90 not a good thing, but not taken on in a mature way could lead to a similar dynamic where either you set yourself up for some sort of crash, or what you're pointing out specifically is you basically relegate the needed personal development that might actually need more intervention from other people, and you just say, well, instead of doing that, I'm just going to grit my teeth, and the gritting my teeth and getting through this will fix the
Sure.
issues.
Yeah. And you know, I think one of the biggest things for I don't care if it's Exodus 90 or like any group is like particularly well no not even just men just anybody is this thing the effort we're making right now I'm making right now putting me back into relationship,
Okay.
right? Like because I can go to I don't care if it's I can go to church or I can go to this men's group or I can go to whatever other form of prayer group or treatment or anything, and like I can check some boxes. Um, or are these men here? Yeah, we're challenging ourselves in X, Y, and Z ways, but are we also is that fundamentally pointing us back towards having a relationship with each other and with the Lord
Mm-hmm.
and asking good questions?
Mm-hmm.
Because like the devil's just trying to tear down relationship at a really fundamental level, and from my perspective, just tearing, keeping us isolated, and that can even be like, the devil doesn't need us to sin. He needs us to. He wants us to just be unsuccessful at least,
Mm.
right? And so, if
Futile.
yeah, if you futile or just like non-movement,
Mm.
right? And so even in doing good activity, right, like fasting or increased physical exercise or you name it, we can not be addressing the heart of the problem and kind of just staying stuck. Whereas I believe through relationship, obviously, principally our relationship with Christ, but also in the people he's put around us, we can be pointed back towards those fundamental questions of our hearts, like Lord, who do you say that I am? Um, who, yeah, what do you say about me? What do I believe about you, etc. Um, and looking at those kinds of questions with our life story, like our personal history with the Lord and just in life, man, that's going to be really potent for what kind of virtue am I trying to bring about in myself right now? Whether that's overcoming a big vice or addiction or something, or just growth in a particular kind of virtue I've noticed I need to improve in. I think we can see like rootedness in those kinds of identity questions there. Yeah.
Do you think those changes in the person have to start from changes in relationship?
Mm.
Or do you want to say no, changes are the fruit of changes in behavior or health or habits? No, it starts from a change in our identity and sense of identity. Or do you actually want to say no, relationship is the whatever relationship we have with either Christ or some idol will determine everything else? Is relationship that fundamental
Mm.
in your conception of things?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think relationship is pretty darn fundamental. Um, I do think, yeah, sometimes um, the circumstances we're in, the kinds of things that we're talking about here, maybe changing our lifestyle, changing our routine, changing our habits of prayer. Obviously, they can point us, um, they can kind of shift us into the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at the end of the day, one of the phrases that I always use in ministry is, can we get eye to eye with the Lord? Like, meaning, one of my favorite examples is like, I come home from work
Mm-hmm.
and my 4-year-old son, 5-year-old son, Judah, is, he's running around the house, and I come in, and he hears me come in, and I like he he did something naughty while I was at work or whatever.
Right.
Um,
And he knows it.
and he knows it. What does he do when I come in the door? Well, most of the time, he he will, and most any kid will run away, right? When dad comes home, they're gonna run away and hide, and he'll hide in the corner in his room and kind of cower. And I'll talk to my wife, and she'll be like, "Well, this is what happened, and he took the toy from his sister or whatever, and it turned into a big deal." And so then I'll go in his room, and he will still avoid me and like avoid connection with me,
Physically, even.
physically like cower.
Yep.
Even though like I've been nothing but loving to him his whole life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and literally, it's not until he is willing to look at me when we can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
I'll sit down, even like I'll get on his level. I'll say, Judah, look at me, bud. Like, look at me. And he'll even avoid it then, and like I'll have to push, and then he'll make eye contact with me, and I'll say, tell me about what's going on, or
Mm-hmm.
tell me about what happened. And boom, all of a sudden, like the floodgates open, and I hear about the situation and how he felt, and yada yada yada. Um, and I think what happens in that moment with me and my son is when he looks into my eyes, he realizes like I am a better father than he thought.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like he thought he really like he might have violated the rules,
Mm-hmm.
and there's still going to be consequences, but like I am a better father than he thought, and we're able to work together on this, and I have all of the like tools and ability to change the situation with him. But and if he just like stays bound up in himself and all tight and upset, he can run around the whole house avoiding us, and he's gonna like the situation won't improve until we're able to connect like that. Anyway, this is a long story,
No, no,
a
no.
long kind of
Right.
example to say I think that getting eye to eye with the Father is that experience in my life where my wife and I joke all the time, like we are Judah so frequently, where it's like, Judah, I literally want good things for you. Like, I'm trying to give you a good thing right now. Like, I'm trying to give you the ice cream you asked for earlier today, but you think I'm not for whatever reason. Well, I mean, because you're 5 and you don't understand what's going on right now. And like literally, he'll have a misunderstanding with us and just be like running around with his head, like screaming his head off.
Hmm.
Um, and uh, and not seeing that like we're trying to give him something good until we pause him and get like close to him, like get physically close to him, make eye contact with him and reconnect and say, this is what's going on. Judah, don't you understand? I just had to go in the garage in our extra freezer in the garage to get the ice cream. Oh, no way. You're better than I thought, Dad. Like I thought I had a misunderstanding about what a good father you are. Anyway, um, I think for us as people who are struggling with like, man, some of the hardest things in the human condition, um, yeah, we can grind on ourselves and like try to, yeah, take our sharp edges off and really just like lean into different ways that I could improve or make my life better. But like Christianity is not a self-help program.
Mm. Okay.
Like, Christianity is a relationship with a living father, like and and it's also just can I agree with the truth? Can I live in the truth? Right? And um, yes, our lives do get better when we live in accordance with the truth. That is true. Right? So for some people, it might kind of look like a self-help program sometimes because it's like, oh, the strong Christian Catholic men I know in my life have really overcome those addictions or whatever. Um, but the principal reason there is not just that, like, well, the Lord tells us not to sin, to do not the Lord tells us not to do bad stuff. Um, like, yeah, we want to not just I don't know, follow the rules, but it's because we're in that relationship with him and we love him and he loves us. And that will make us happy, right? Like we do care about our emotions in that, but living out the truth is going to make us happy. And that's going to come through relationship. Um, I don't know. Yeah.
Do you think that there's a lot of time and energy spent by well-meaning people that essentially is trying to use Christianity as a self-help program? It seems like you would I'm guessing you would answer yes.
Yeah. And I don't know. I want to be careful when I say that because I do believe like the Lord desires us to be happy, right? And desires us to flourish. And also, hand in hand with that is like, pick up your cross and follow me. Um, and I really believe that, when we believe the truth about ourselves and act out of that truth, that we do feel better in life, right? Like our emotions do improve. We're happier, right? I talk about that all the time. I think that's a good, but um, the it's not a self-motivated, self-identifying program where like, all right, Zach's a Christian, Zach's a Catholic. Now he needs to overhaul his life and become this like paragon of virtue in his every every part of my I don't know, my like my physical routine, my daily routine. It's almost like I am then creating my happiness,
Hmm.
right? Instead of relying on the Lord. Because, yeah, well, the Lord is like really providing, um, for my life here. And there's a certain amount of happiness that comes with that. He's also, there's going to be a certain amount of suffering that comes in my life as well and in other people's lives. So, um, it's through our relationship with the Lord that that suffering becomes joy, not through, man, I'm really disciplined at every part of my life,
Mm.
therefore suffering is now joyful. Like, no, right? Like, I think that sounds a lot more like a self-help, self-motivation book or something, where it's like,
Oh,
hey, if you practice enough, when things get real hard, you can just grind through it and be happy
okay.
and
So
then create
Christianity as
your own
stoicism or Christianity as a new paradigm that
happiness.
will somehow, oh, you'll always see the silver linings now, or you won't be bothered by the tough things that come up because you'll be more detached because you'll be focused on the important things. So it's basically, yeah, those things might have some element of truth in them, but it's basically trying to promise people some escape from suffering rather than a fundamental transformation of suffering by the fact that you now have a relationship,
Hmm.
a relationship outlook on the things that come and go throughout your life.
Yeah, I don't. Hmm. And I think when I initially say like Christianity is not just a self-help
Mm,
program, I just want to, I think a lot of the spirit of that is I'm trying to say like Christianity and my relationship with the Lord will weather the toughest storm that you can imagine,
hmm.
right? Like it is made for, our faith is made for the hardest things of the human condition, not just like cute stuff. It is, our faith is made for the hardest experiences of the human condition, and it will bring us through that off and better than any, it was the only thing that can bring us through most of that, right? Like, um, mhm.
Yes. It seems to me that what you're getting at is when we say our faith, we think, okay, what is faith? Faith is belief. Faith is saying, I believe X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
It seems to me that you're proposing that faith, we actually need to think of faith not as this action on our part, but as a change in how our identity and relationship are founded. Can you say more about that?
Yeah. I think, I mean, the immediate thing that struck me was when I say our faith, I mean Jesus Christ,
Okay. I
right?
think that's where most people probably should pause because I think for so many people, faith is some action on my part. I
Hmm.
choose to believe or I believe, which I, I'm not saying those are bad things.
No, absolutely. The, I think my faith, the faith, etc., is sure my quote my relationship
Hmm.
with Jesus Christ, and His church, and it is not the activity that I do to make myself feel okay about all the things that are difficult in my life.
Ah, uh-huh.
Right? It's not just coping, and it's not prosperity gospel,
Oof.
right? Like,
Man, I love me some prosperity God.
well, what's rad is that the gospel is way better than the prosperity gospel.
Have you ever seen that Babylon Bee post where it says Joel Osteen buys a new yacht narrow enough to fit through the eye of a needle.
Oh, that's
That's
awesome.
funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
I love that one.
that's
Shout out, yeah, shout out to the bee.
wow. Hmm.
Uh, the gospel is better than the prosperity gospel.
Yeah, it's
Why
like
is that?
even more scandalous than the prosperity gospel, right? Not Zach earn wealth,
Hmm.
Zach earn prosperity and all this goodness. Like, hey, while you were yet a sinner, like Jesus Christ gave his life for us, and gave us inheritance as co-heirs to the kingdom of God, not yachts, like not co-heirs to just the kingdom of yachts, right? Like
You're not going to join the
the
flotilla.
the kingdom of God, right? Yeah, I always say, um, when I think of when I hear that, I'm like, oh, Zach, you're a beloved son of God. Like you're co-heir to the kingdom. You have an inheritance in Christ or with Christ as your brother. That's all really amazing and pretty hard to comprehend. And it's kind of just like, we hear people all the time say, well, Zach, God loves you or Jesus loves you. It's like, yep, mm-hmm. And in my heart, I'm kind of like, but does he like me? Like, does he really like me? Does he want to hang out with me? Does he like the same stuff I like? What does he say about me? All those questions are kind of underlying that for a lot of people. And anyway, when I hear like Zach, you're a co-heir, you have an inheritance in the kingdom, I'm like, well, guys like Jonathan, who are super holy and really disciplined and praying more and quote unquote better than me, they're going to have like a lot of inheritance in the kingdom. But Zach is going to have like the the Harry Potter cupboard underneath the stairs. Like that's going to
The
be
closet of the kingdom.
yeah, exactly. And like praise the Lord if that's what I get. If I can get to heaven, that's I would be more than grateful, Jesus, please. But the reality is like way more intense than that. Like that just makes the Lord laugh. And when you think about like the prodigal son, we see how ridiculous my thought is there, of like, yeah, the son that's squandered everything comes home. The father meets him in the field and slaughters slaughters the fat calf and gives him his best robe and his ring, etc. in that field. Honestly, even after, oh man, I mean, we could talk about the prodigal son for the next hour, but the prodigal son gives like a pretty crappy apology.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
He's like, the food's better here, and I'd rather be here.
Because I'm starving out there.
Yeah, and
I'm really bad. You're saying he's back because this is his last ditch effort to survive.
yeah,
Not that he's sorry.
totally. It doesn't seem like it is definitely not perfect contrition, and a lot of smarter theologians and biblical scholars have talked about this extensively. But then, even then, like the father embraces him and says, like, all that I have is yours, and throws a big party for the prodigal son. And this is like, I I imagine and other people, other core people, we imagine that like in that party is where the father and the son like actually can reconcile then, where it's like, hey son, you see like how good it is here? You remember now? And I'm sounding way more sarcastic than the Lord, I'm sure sounds, but you see how good it is here. You see all of my abundance. You see how much I love you. man, what was going on? And it's in that, like, the prodigal son needed that reminder and to get eye to eye with the Lord. But then in the second son, like, he's sitting on the doorstep the whole time, was skipping out on this party. And the father's like, all that I have has always been yours. And so, I mean, I see myself in both of those categories throughout my life,
Hmm.
right? Where I'm like, Jonathan's got cool stuff and he feels good all the time because and I've done better. I work in ministry, so why don't I feel good? And like, um, you know, anyway, all of that to say, the gift of the party, like the treasure troves of the kingdom and the church and the inheritance of the co-heirs of Christ, is so much better than yachts and the prosperity gospel.
Hmm.
Right? That it is, and it's not just like, hey, you'll suffer for the rest of your life and then you'll die and maybe you'll get to
Suffered
heaven.
enough to be
Yeah.
allowed in.
It's like, no, that the kingdom is here now as well. And we get to live in that joy and of the freedom of the sons and daughters of Christ, or sons and daughters of the Father, right? Like, um, and that gets to be lived out in our daily lives. Anyway, that's way better than anything I could ever imagine in worldly riches.
Mm.
Um, and not, I guess, yeah, just not in an acute way of saying that too. Like, that's pretty scandalous. You know, I could give you money, or I can make you co-heirs with the Son of God. Like that second one's way cooler.
Hmm.
uh, if you had never heard that before, that would be like, wow, those are not even on the same playing field,
If you understood what those things really were. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Do
totally.
you think we're fighting biology with trying to understand that? I talked with Aaron Schubert about this a couple of years ago.
Crazy.
Uh, I said, why why does the Lord mention mammon? Right? There's a lot of idols out there, right? Success, acclaim, uh, wealth, yes. Looks, pleasure, lots of pleasure. My understanding is that mammon, and I want to step a little carefully here. My understanding is that while mammon can be understood to include things like the spirit of the world or worldly success,
Mm-hmm.
yes, but mammon always has this reference to money and wealth. And I remember asking Aaron about that. I said, not everyone out there is necessarily greedy. Why mammon? Like, why does the Lord say you cannot serve both God and mammon? And what he said to me was, well, there's this surety to wealth, right? It really always allows anyone to provide for their needs.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this way in which wealth specifically has this distracting quality because it allows us to be our own creator and master.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if when we say, hey, do you want to be wealthy and be on a yacht, or do you want to be a co-heir of the kingdom? That's directly challenging a really fundamentally biological instinct to mind our own survival.
Uh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I think that's true that we want to provide for our own security.
Hmm.
Right? We want to provide for we want our lives to be as predictable as possible,
Hmm.
right? As we want to be in control as much as possible, right? And I see this like in the work I do, both because it involves fundraising where I like actively have to tell people like, hey, this is going to be difficult because you want to be able to just believe your security comes from your worth in work, right? Or your activity in work, right? And we've been
You want to be looked at and esteemed to be valuable.
also, I mean, it's an American thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm.
hey, the harder you work, the more stable and successful you are. You know, the more you should be able to provide for all of your own needs and not ask for help. That's like a big, um,
You
yeah,
think
I
that's
think
the
that's
that's the real American Idol?
yeah, one of them. The yeah, that desire to just not ask for what you need. Um, you know, that we should all live the American dream out in our perfect little postage stamp, you know, quarter acre yard, suburban, beautiful house.
Mm.
Within this space, I control everything and I can handle it, whatever's going on. Like I can take care of myself. Um,
Mm.
and anyway, there, I mean, of course, there are goods to be had there as well of being able to provide for a family, being able to work hard and see the fruit of your labor, all sorts of good things. But that belief that like I have to take care of myself,
Mm-hmm.
be in control of all of
Mm.
that, like you'll just go crazy, right? Like you can't. Um, and some people can for a certain amount of time, um, and then they, you know, unforeseen, unpredictable things in life happen and they're out of control. Or for, I mean, I believe that there are some people that like their whole life have just kind of obviously, like maybe that's an obvious thing too. Like people that have come into success and been successful their whole life and never really been challenged into a whole lot of suffering in that. And like then they stand in front of the Lord and the Lord's like, what did you do with all of the talents I gave you? What did you do with all of it? And, you know, and it's like, well, I was real comfortable. Uh, but anyway, we were talking about biology.
Yeah, I wonder if sometimes the demands of Christianity day to day should be fundamentally challenging to some of our mammalian instincts.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've mentioned it on the podcast before, so I'll keep it brief, but one of the talks that I heard that has stuck with me for a decade now was about John the Baptist.
Mm-hmm.
And this psychologist said what allowed John the Baptist to be the prophet that he was is because before he was preaching to his own people and to his own priestly class, when he went out into the desert to survive on locusts and wild honey and dress in camel's hair, is this wasn't just an extreme camping trip. This was a brush with death.
Mm-hmm.
And so that basically John the Baptist had probably had one or most likely several experiences of believing this is probably it.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore he was comfortable with the idea that he might die. But over and above that, by going out into the wilderness by himself, not only was he comfortable, it wasn't just, oh, I'm going to be comfortable dying in battle next to my brothers in arms, fighting for a good cause. That's great. That's good. But specifically, he had comfort. He was comfortable in an environment in which his tribe was of no avail to him. And so then when he had to go and speak the truth to his own tribe, if they
Mm,
if they were angry, threatening him death,
sure.
he was comfortable with that reaction of his own tribe. And the
Mm-hmm.
psychologist was saying most of us haven't had to face that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
the
that's really
no one's
interesting.
coming to help.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
help is coming.
Yep, no help is coming.
I think you see that too with like other prophets and other figures in scripture too, like Elijah
Mm.
in the cave.
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm going to get parts of the story wrong to the biblical scholars if they're listening, but he's fleeing for his life. He hides in the cave, and the Lord comes and the Lord wasn't in the fire, in the earthquake, in the rushing wind, etc. He was in the still small voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I just in that moment, Elijah felt the same thing, like completely abandoned, right? Like completely left. Well, I mean, yeah, completely abandoned by his tribe. The prophets of Baal were prevailing. Um, and then um, the Lord asks Elijah in that moment, and 3 times in a row, Elijah, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Um, and each time Elijah's like, God, all this bad stuff has happened, and now I'm running, and I came here to flee for my life. And then God's like, well, what are you doing here? What are you doing? And this keeps happening. And then the third time, God says, he like reminds Elijah of who he is, like his identity, and says, "You go back, get out of here. What are you doing here? Don't waste your time here." And obviously, I'm paraphrasing like crazy here, um, and go back, and you will be victorious, right? Like he reminds him, you are a king, right? Like he reminds him about who he is, and sends him forth on mission, and he just like meets him with affection almost it feels like to me in the cave, and then um, affirms him despite even like his silly activity of running away, um, and and then sends him forth on a mission. Anyway, I just think it's interesting. Yeah, like no help was coming for him,
Mm-hmm.
and I see that like so many wilderness examples in Scripture. I maybe all of them, maybe I don't know. I need to think about that for a while, but
Mm.
that's awesome because yeah, I think inherently there are things in so many fundamentals in Christianity that are going against our biology. Of like, it's not biological to sacrifice yourself for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
That's just to lay down your life for a friend.
Mm.
That's not biological. To lay down your life potentially for your offspring, maybe
Sure.
that could be. I could see that being in the
Sure.
animal kingdom.
Yeah,
Uh,
we see that done in other parts of the animal kingdom,
yeah,
especially among mammals.
yeah. But again, there's the rationality difference there. Where it's one thing if that is just programmed into you as a whatever animal does that happens to. It's another if you have to choose that freely. Anyway, I think yeah, there's a lot of fighting certain aspects of our biology, which I would be interesting to kind of look at the fall and say and see like what parts of the fall in Genesis, like the actual scripture, how does that line up with what we see in the fallenness of our biology?
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
And plenty of people have done that. So
Going back to the example of your son, do you think when he's gotten into trouble, he knows he's done something bad, do you think the essential thing going on is that he has forgotten his relationship to you, right? In his mind, you become the monster.
hmm, I think that yeah, I think that there's a number of things that could be happening there. Um, Consistently, he just thinks I'm going to be angry, and
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't want me to be angry with him.
Okay.
He doesn't want there to be, a consequence, and his consequences are like, you don't get a treat after dinner tonight, or I'm going to read one less story to you, or like, um, but even that. that desire to please me, I think is pretty high. And so he doesn't want me like the dark horsemen are like disappointment, shame, denial, rejection, abandonment. I mean, I could keep going on, and I think these are things that are just like ingrained into all of us to have this deep fear of, right? And the devil tries to use that and says like, "Hey, if you get eye to eye with the Father right now, he's going to beat the crap out of you, or he's going to abandon you,
Mm.
or he's going to say like, how could, get out of my house, or um, or the other people around you will do similar things, etc. Right? Like,
If the truth about you is revealed.
yes, if the truth about you is revealed, no one will understand, especially the people that matter most. You're going to be all by yourself because you're real bad,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
and no help is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can fix this.
And no one wants to.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
Mm.
not good. You're not desirable.
Mm.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, obviously that level of intensity is not going on inside of my son, right?
Sure.
But there is a fear of disappointment there that I will be disappointed by him. I won't approve of him. I will be upset.
Right. Or I wonder if you could say that the level of intensity may be really high, but it's in the imagination and not the intellect. Right. He couldn't say, I'm experiencing the dark horseman.
Yeah.
Right. He's just upset.
Hmm.
Right. And so the emotions and the imagination may hold more sway over his affect than his intellect does. And it's only later in life that we can intellectually say, oh, yeah, it's because of these thoughts. If the truth about me is known, then I will be left out
People will
left out.
hide their faces from me.
Yeah, I'll be left out to wail and gnash my teeth.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, this is really interesting how it dovetails with what we were talking with Cynthia
Mm.
about Cain.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Right. Right. Where Cain says, yeah, you have to, Lord, if people see me, they'll kill me.
Mm.
Yeah. They'll know who I am.
Mhm.
Right. And Cynthia had some interesting thoughts about how, ironically, God puts a mark on Cain, which we were trying to figure out a little bit what was going on there. Like, it's more obvious now that Cain is Cain because he has this mark, and yet it's also a warning: do not lay your hands on Cain. So
Mm.
lots of interesting things
Mm.
going on there that we weren't able to suss out
That's
completely.
cool.
Do you see somewhere on the timeline of your own life, do you see a key moment when you had this fundamental shift from faith as an act to faith as a realization, a knowing that, oh, I'm in relationship with another
Mm.
human being, and
Mhm.
his name is Jesus Christ.
Mm. Mm.
Good question.
Or the way C.S. Lewis says, I think it's Lewis. Um, maybe it's Chesterton. You might know. Um, when the moment you think there's something in the dark, and then you hear or see it move,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's God,
Yep.
right? The moment in my life where all of a sudden, oh wow, it's actually alive,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
There's something in the room and it's actually alive. Um, I love that. I should probably know who said it then if I love it so much. I have a lot like
You heard it here first.
that. But anyway, yeah, thankfully, I had the huge grace of just having like a really good childhood, really loving parents, and strong in their faith, and grew in their faith with me as I, yeah, grew up and got confirmed, went through high school and everything. So I remember poignant moments even in my young life in middle school and stuff where I was like, oh, this is actually a decision I need to make. Um, because I had, like I just said, good family influence, but also great friends in youth group and stuff who, I kind of realized I need to actually think about this stuff and make a decision here and let my yes mean yes, my no mean no kind of thing. And I did that throughout my young life in high school and things and had struggles and wrestled with the Lord over, difficulties growing in virtue in high school. But just, man, just did a lot in my faith then. And it was kind of, I would say that was like a golden era of my of my faith without much disillusionment. Where yeah, I had struggles with some sin and vices, but going to confession, increasing my prayer life, talking to my friends, talking to my parents, etc., made that stuff really manageable for me. So my faith felt like really kind of successful to a certain degree, where I was just like really happy with my relationship with the Lord, and felt like, yeah, just kind of, it was pretty naive, I would say, to a certain degree, because there wasn't a ton of suffering in my life. And I guess in my adult life, actually experienced some serious suffering, with grieving the loss of friends and, some depression and things like that. And that season of my life where I was really depressed and yeah, I would say like the worst I've ever been in my life. I remember, yeah, just man, I was lying on the floor of a of a of a cabin I was living in Wyoming in the dark. There's like one candle burning, and I was just had like really rough night, and I laid down on the floor to stretch, and I just all of a sudden just broke down. Like while I was stretching, just like my internal dialogue got real intense. And I was like, Lord, like, why did all these hard things happen in my life recently? Like this, I'm in so much pain, yada yada, and just not feeling a response and like feeling distant from the Lord, right? And then in that moment, just being like, all right, I don't understand any of this. Like, if this is maybe I'm crazy, maybe my faith in the Lord is crazy, maybe I'm wrong. But if my faith is wrong, if Jesus Christ is not God, then like my whole life will completely blow up. Like my paradigm will be gone and nothing will work. I will not work. And I had enough sense in myself of like, okay, I don't know what to do, but I know like I can't lose my faith in the Lord right now. And the only thing I could think of to pray was, Jesus, I trust in you. And all of a sudden, for then like weeks, months of my life, that was like all I could pray. I was like, Jesus, I trust in you. Like, I know you're here, Lord. I don't know you're here, but I trust in you. And that remained true for a long time of like, I won't quit because I know I'm not, the healthier version of me said, hey, when the darkness comes, like you got to trust the Lord. Um, and then the point I specifically remember, so this is like the bottom, I guess I'm describing here. And then deciding, I think once, kind of once and for all moment in my life came shortly after where I was in the Grand Canyon on a long backpacking course. And I was doing a 2 day long solo. So I was completely by myself, sitting in a slot canyon. And I can't really describe, I don't remember the exact words that were spoken between me and the Lord, but it was on that trip that I was reminded of like, of my sonship, and of the Lord's desire uh, to be with me, and that like I don't know how else to say that. That like he can handle it. He could handle where I was at.
Mm.
He could handle my anger. He could handle my extreme anger, my extreme frustration. He could handle all of it, and I could just give it to him. I just like, for whatever reason that didn't connect in my head until that sitting on this like in this slot canyon for a couple days by myself that he could take it. And I gave it to him over the course of, 36 hours or so. I gave him that frustration. I gave him that confusion. Lord, why did you have to take this person away from me? Lord, why did this have to happen? That have to happen? Why did I have to be so broken because of that stuff, etc. And then let him speak back to me the truth. Like, okay, Lord, if that's not if that's not what you desire for me, all that pain, all that suffering, if that wasn't what you desire for me, then what is true? Like, Lord, what do you say? Who do you say that I am? What
You're asking that of the
I'm
Lord.
asking that of
Like,
the Lord.
who,
Lord,
Lord, who do you say that I am?
yeah. Like I have some ideas about who you are right now,
Hmm.
Lord, and some of them aren't that great because I'm pretty pissed off,
Hmm.
right? But I'm going to give you my frustration and I'm going to let it out. Now, who do you say that I am? And receiving back nothing but the voice of a loving father. And some of that was getting the advice from other people of like, hey, when you listen to the Lord and right now, like this is a hard season in your life, Zach. Like you're going through a lot of suffering right now. Like the Lord's voice does not have a bite, right? It does not. It's not mean. It's not going to tell you what a piece of garbage you are ever, right? And so sitting there, just receiving from Him, like Zach, you are my beloved son, and not only do I like you, but I trust you. Like, oh dang, like the God of the universe not only likes me, but he trusts me with stuff. Like there's stuff I have to do and that he's entrusted me with. And like a bunch of other words like that just kept coming and coming, and I wrote them down for a long time. And um, it was not only just like a really kind of emotional high moment. It was definitely not all just emotional. It was like a lot of rational movement was happening in my head through processing, the big challenges I had in my life at the time, and um, really coming up with resolutions of like, no, this is how I'm going to live out this identity now. And I don't, you know, I didn't know at the time how I'd live it out, but I knew I was going to like, well, step number one should be I should tell some people about it. Like if I can write it down and tell some people about it,
Hmm.
then I can get some traction here and make some have some movement.
Okay.
Um, and this is kind of getting back to what we started with Exodus 90 of like
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is where real movement was happening in my heart, and it wasn't. Yeah, and I needed to write it down, and I needed to tell my close friends on that course about it, right? And then we continued to talk about it back home, and I told more, more people about it, and continue to process it, and that really helps like bring. I think that really helped bring about the changes in my life that I was desperately needing, which was, you know, shifts in my perception of the Lord and reality that like he is still everything he says he is and more amidst the suffering of life. Right? And that like he does not will our suffering, right? Like he doesn't desire that we are just suffering. So anyway.
So do you think what we were starting with Exodus, you're desiring to caution people against this idea of the freedom and the new vision that you received by just receiving can somehow be earned by cold plunges,
Mm.
fasting from drinking, and giving up dessert. like, oh, if I just do this next thing, if I just do, I have to do, where you're saying, yeah, those doings are good, but if you think that the doings
Mm,
are going to just open this door, you have to understand that the door opens because God opened it and gave
mm,
the gift. And you were talking about being on the floor of a cabin or just being in a slot
mhm,
canyon, it sounds like, where you just the moment was ripe. It wasn't at the end of this long period of effort.
mm.
And you think that sometimes people say, like, well, where can I put in effort to get
Well,
the
and
thing?
I think what like no amount of I like during that really dark season of my life, I was still really disciplined in prayer.
Well, okay.
I was still doing the things,
Mm-hmm.
but hadn't yet had the interior movement in my heart towards the Lord. Right? In I wasn't ready to. An inexplicit, like I can't even explain that. Why? Because sitting on this side of it, I'm like, yeah, Zach, you moron, turn towards the Lord. Do it better, Zach. Like give him more of your heart. Really surrender this time. Like, no, I was trying then, but I didn't yet understand. I didn't yet like the Lord knew his timing in that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And he gave me the right words at the right time through the right people and through the Holy Spirit to bring about that conversion in my heart. Right. And I would say absolutely to what you just said. I'm not, I want to be clear. I'm not against Exodus 90. Again, like I think it's a really amazing program. I think it should be used. I am against Jansenism anywhere it exists,
Sure.
right? Like I am against believing that I earn God's love and that religious activity will bring about my happiness. Right? No, like relationship with Jesus Christ will, right? And knowing him and loving him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't want to ever distract myself with stuff so that I don't do that, so that I don't love Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that's what I believe in the Catholic Church. I have been given the gift of doing that amazingly well, like the
Mm-hmm.
way he desires, the way he told us to do it. Right? I can't imagine more intimacy than with him than in the Eucharist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Etc. So,
Hmm.
hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. I'll have to give that some thought.
Yeah, I think it is easy to hear about all the rewards that Christ promises and then start thinking, well, if I just do all the things he tells me to do, I'll get all those things.
Hmm.
And now it's not actually about him at all. It's just about all the stuff he'll give you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
So then it's like, are you actually friends with him or are you just using him as like a vending machine?
mm, yeah.
I'll give you 10 Hail Marys if you give me peace of mind for 10 minutes, or
Sure.
I'll do whatever so that I get the thing that I want.
Right. Right. I'll give you Exodus 90. You give me my ex-girlfriend back.
Yeah,
Dang.
Yeah.
yeah, it can get really dire.
Like very contractual.
Yeah, very contractual. And then also like so self-centered that you essentially make God your puppet,
Mm,
because you have this idea in your mind, well, God's certain he never goes against his promises. So
mm,
then you start playing these rational games of like, well, if I just give him what he wants, then he'll give me what he wants. And I know that he's just this God that always does things perfectly. So he always has my best interest in mind. He's always going to do this for me. Because like this unending trail of just like self-centeredness using God. It's really, really terrible.
well, I think we just need to start with maybe seeing his goodness in the gifts he gives us,
Mm-hmm.
in his ways, like how he
Mm,
is, who he is.
yeah.
because I firmly believe that if we see who and how he is, we will fall in love with him. And I can tell you right now, yeah, my prayer, even tonight, I'm like, I'm going to ask the Lord for stuff,
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I need help, Jesus. Like, my car is not working right now. I need help. I don't know what I'm going to do about it. I don't know this, that, the other. Like, I do need help like that.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond all of that, there's like an ache in my heart that is just to be with him
Mm-hmm.
because I just love him. And I just know that he is the only way through and he is the only thing worth desiring.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not in some way that like detracts from everything else in the world, but makes everything better. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if that makes sense, but like
Mm-hmm.
Jesus desiring you principally makes it everything better.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's not like, well, now I just aestheticism, like,
Now
or
I just live for Jesus.
and now I just don't care about anything.
Oh
No,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
man,
Mm.
uh, and that is, man, that's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I think it could start by saying, instead of just like, okay, if I think about God as a vending machine, let's think about what the things he is giving and doing and saying mean about him. And we will fall in love and then just desire him. And
Yeah, you get to that point like Aquinas said, like God was like, "What do you want?" And he said, "Only you, Lord." That
yeah.
vision he had.
Mm,
So it's like Aquinas was so amazing at doing good things for God. God would say, "You've written well about me. What would you like?" And he said, "Well, just you, Lord."
Mm.
mhm,
So that was why Aquinas was a saint, and he wasn't like an Origen that became a heretic.
mhm.
So Origen wrote well, but then he turned it all for himself.
Yeah, I think we probably have some of us might have an experience that's analogous when we fall in love, but it's probably most of us have an experience when we're young, the golden age of friendship between like 8 and 11 or 12, right? You just like
People.
you just like your best friend,
Oh yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you guys really can do anything together,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's playful, right?
Yeah. I was noticing that too with like being around little kids, is that when a kid does something they enjoy doing, they don't think about what they're gonna get out of it.
Mm, mhm.
You know, like when a kid like starts playing a game, they're not thinking, rationalizing in their mind, like, I'll feel happier now because I had a bad day before this. You know? Like, it
Totally.
doesn't even come to their mind. They're just like, oh, this is fun.
Mm.
Totally.
And
Yeah, it's so cool.
and I think that's part of what Jesus is saying when he says like you have to become like little children. Because I think he just wants us to enjoy all these good things of himself, and all the other creation that he's made for us.
Mm,
And I think that's when he says, like, don't worry about tomorrow. And don't worry about what you're going to eat. Don't worry what you're going to wear. He's like, just enjoy these good things.
mm,
Because I have it all coming for you. And if you just enjoy today the right way, you are preparing for tomorrow the proper way.
mm,
But if you're worried and stressed, then you're probably just going to start not acting as your true self. And I can't really act through you as well. And then all the good things that come through that aren't going to be there. So then you're going to be more stressed tomorrow. And
Well,
it's
it's
going to
just the
come.
belief that you're gonna also be in control when you're not. Like
That too.
you're gonna fail.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? Like I can worry about tomorrow, and a lot of the time I can get it right until I don't, and I screw it up and I fail and I'm miserable or whatever,
yeah.
because I'm not God. I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow.
Hmm.
Hmm.
My dad says that he's really good at predicting things except the future.
Uh, you've done a lot of marriage prep with couples getting ready for their wedding.
Hmm.
What are some of your What are some of the surprises that you've learned about people and in particular their expectations around marriage in the time that it's you and your wife who do it together,
Hmm.
correct?
Hmm.
Yeah. What are some of the things your eyes have been open to?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we see just like a diversity of couples. We've seen really young couples from here in the college community, um, who have been, really catechized, really formed in their ideas of marriage. We see, the whole spectrum then too of, not old couples, but older couples and uh, people that have had, non-traditional routes to meeting each other, non-traditional routes to the faith, um, and just like I think the thing that I get surprised that the Lord trusts us to do it, to do marriage. Um, it's just astounding sometimes. Also, just the things that I see love overcome. And, I guess what I tell so many couples at the beginning of marriage prep is we want to make sure that they're, um, we're in marriage, we're saying, I'm gonna be with this person forever. And before we do that, we want to make sure that, hey, we might not be able to answer every question we have. We do focus assessments, which are like 200 questions long of like, how do you feel about this aspect of finances and this, how many kids do you want to have and how do you want to educate them and blah, 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 blah. All these questions to see how well you and your potential future spouse are on the same page. And I always tell them like, yeah, the hope is not that we completely have everything figured out before we're married, right? If you ask Sarah and I right now some of those questions, we still wouldn't know the answer, and we've been married for a while. Um, but we want to make sure that every one of those boxes in our hearts can be opened
Mm,
with our spouse, right? There's nothing in my heart that I'm afraid to talk to you about or I won't talk to you about, right? And I know, hey, this box around finances, like, is particularly hard for me to open, and it's particularly sensitive for me to talk about because of my this, that, and the other, my child or this, whatever. Um, and so, but I am willing to open it with you, and I know we need to. And so, like, let's talk about what we need to now, and figure out how we can function with that further down the road. And a lot of that is pointing towards this idea that like, um, Jordan Peterson says after we get married, or we kind of, well, in the process of getting married, we're shaking hands and saying, hey, whatever is inside the black box of your heart in the future, I will love. And then after you get married, you open that black box, and he says that sometimes there's monsters in there.
hmm
Right? Sometimes there's, scary things in there that no one could have anticipated, because life happens, and difficult things happen and challenges or whatever. Um, but anyway, just seeing the beauty of love overcoming, um, those particular wounded places in people's lives and their hearts, the love of a spouse overcoming that, right? Um, and I use the example of sometimes it's hard to talk about money, but the things in our hearts that can be challenging in marriage are so oftentimes much more, deeper wounds than that. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to talk about money. Like, no, this deeply wounding experience I had as a child is making this part of our life hard to talk about, or seeing your family hard to talk, hard to consider, or the prospect of having children is terrifying to me because of X, Y, and Z. Like, really deep, deep wounds, that I have seen the Lord's wisdom and the church's wisdom in marriage overcome and heal. Um, so, uh, I guess the primary thing I've been surprised by is just like the Lord's goodness and his
Sure.
generosity to people in that. And um,
What are some questions that you're talking about? You said 240 questions on a big,
yeah, 200
long,
ish.
long term, long form deep dive into not necessarily looking for compatibility, but looking to get the communication out in the open.
Yeah.
What are
And
some of your favorites from that list?
oh gosh. um, One of my favorites is, do you expect, are there things about your future spouse you expect to change after you get married?
Hmm.
Right. And it's a difficult question. It's poorly kind of poorly worded because everyone would say yes and no, I think, to a certain degree. It depends on how you think about it. And I think
That,
that,
but the key is that you expect to change.
yes,
Not that, oh, do I think he will change in some ways? No. I'm planning on making X
yes.
my project after the wedding day. What are those things?
Or
Name them.
I am planning on marriage being the magical thing that makes my future spouse change in the way I want them to. Right. So they're not good at whatever right now. They're not good at being punctual right now, but being married to me will make them punctual.
Ah,
Right.
right. Or they don't seem very enthusiastic about kids, but once we get married,
Yeah, it'll happen. Right. Because
right.
we're married. That's what you do. Right. So
Whoa.
I think that is oftentimes like a great conversation starter. Um, and
I like that one.
yeah,
Yeah. What things about your spouse do you expect to change after you get married?
Yeah, because you come
Like they're going to be
from
neater, right?
right.
Right. Like I know they're a slob, but once they live with me,
yeah,
they're
totally.
going to be they're going to be as neat as me
Yeah.
because they're living with me.
Hmm. And it makes you not only say, okay, can we have honest conversations about things about you that annoy me or that I dislike about you right now sometimes that, et cetera. Can we have honest conversation about that? And also can we have an honest conversation about the nature of marriage? What is marriage for? What does marriage do, et cetera? And it's not, well, marriage exists to fix the things I don't like about my spouse. No, right?
Have you ever had someone admit that?
Not like that. No.
No,
uh, no.
maybe not yet.
Yeah. Um, and oh man, my other favorite questions in there, also like a lot of good questions surrounding how do we deal with conflict?
Okay.
Um, are you conflict avoidant? Does a conflict excite you? Do you struggle to communicate in conflict? Do you, uh, yeah, I mean, so many good questions in there that are asking, are just making these, oftentimes, these couples are really just in love with each other. They've had pretty little, arguments, or big conflicts, things like that. And they're making them take us, look at marriage square in the face and say, like, no, we're gonna argue with each other about stuff, right? We're gonna have disagreements. We're gonna have challenges. We're gonna have different, like, expectations. We can have conversations for days about expectations. Okay, what do you expect around holidays? What did your family do? What did my family do? What do I want our children to do? Um, what are our expectations around our lifestyle, around money, around education, around, there's so many expectation conversations to have. Not in addition to the conflict stuff I just brought up too. So yeah,
Mm.
there's a lot. And the beautiful thing is that, like I said, these people are in love with each other, right? Or they're loving each other, and they respect each other.
Mm.
So it's fun to talk about, right? Even when it's like, hey, yeah, that thing you do annoys me. they still love and respect each other. So it's still fun to talk about, right? But if they don't respect each other or they don't love each other, it's going to be a conversation I'm not super excited to be a part of, right? Because it's going to be pretty intense. But marriage prep process, we're still on the, we pretty consistently, people really respect each other at that point. So
Hmm.
much different than marriage counseling years in, where there's the potential, higher potential that there's a lack of respect.
Where you're
Yeah.
peeling back some traumas that they've done to each other. Huh. Have
But
you ever done marriage prep with a couple that respects each other but doesn't love each other?
I, man, I have not thought about that. I don't know. That's a hard question to
Hmm.
answer. It's pretty heavy judgment to put on somebody, right?
It's fair.
We do not love each other, and I know it.
Well, I think you could get married without being in love with each other. Yeah.
Arranged marriages,
Sure. Sure.
they work well, statistically higher than not.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Statistically, they don't end in divorce very often.
Yeah, they're not happy though.
Well, I think we'd have to dig a little bit. I'm not saying that they're not happy, but we might have to dig.
I'm gonna do it, Jamie.
You're gonna do it, you pull a Jamie? Shout out to Jamie. Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
We do frequently talk about love being a choice, though. I
Sure.
think that's a pretty important conversation to have. Yeah, really important conversation to have in marriage prep.
Yeah.
Of we might have the feelings of being in love right now, but we need to remember that love is a choice, and I'm going to choose to love you no matter what.
Mm.
Um, and,
A buddy of mine and I were catching up the other day, and we were talking about mentors and uh, intellectual heroes that we both had, especially in college. And he said one of the toughest things was when he had to face up to the fact that his intellectual hero, a professor of his, he said, "Yeah, there's something about just learning and then having to accept that these people have feet of clay."
mm,
Right? He said, no matter how deep, lofty, insightful, comprehending or comprehensive their insights and opinions and wisdom might be, they are going to have feet of clay, right?
mm,
No matter how high they might stand in our estimation.
mm,
I wonder if that is something that these questions that you mentioned get at, like what preparing people for realizing, yeah, you may be idolizing this person right now. Let's prep ourselves for when you realize they are just human.
mm,
What is that going to look like? Or what questions do we need to ask ourselves to see if they are occupying a sort of idolized status in our estimation?
mm, mm. Yeah.
My Jamie research shows that according to the Journal of Marriage and Families,
Uh-huh.
arranged marriages are 74% happy and non are 64% happy. But
64% of people in non-arranged marriages report being happy in their marriage, whereas 74% of people in arranged marriages report being happy.
they said they think the reason is because people with arranged marriages have low expectations going in.
Hmm.
So then as the
Mm,
relationship develops, they find more happiness
mm.
in the goodness of their spouse,
Wow.
which is interesting because that almost works with the idol problem where like if you idolize someone too much, you might think it's too perfect and then you overlook actual problems and don't address them,
Hmm.
which then causes divorce.
Oh, so many, yeah, so many problem, codependency and things like that along the way there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Have you ever told people to split?
No, no.
Wow. I told a buddy
That,
in college that I thought he should split.
Did he?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
We've had like real honest conversation with people about, encouraging them to zoom in on the topics that we knew were at the root of this relationship potentially not being a good idea.
Mm.
And that, yeah, we've had some people split. Um,
Oh,
but
you've seen it. You've seen that where, yeah, they were,
pre-marriage, yes,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
pre-marriage.
they were in
Um,
prep then.
yeah, but no, that definitely needs to be something that you help people come to on their own.
So this thing between you two?
Right.
Okay.
I don't know. Sarah, my wife Sarah gives me a hard time because I'm not afraid to be pretty blunt with people.
Hmm.
And I'll call issues out in, discussions where I'm like, hey, so, you think I'll just say it, whatever it is, like, you don't have a problem with his gambling and just leave it there. It's for them to talk about and to like let it come up because man, so many times I feel like young people are afraid to ask for what they need, ask a hard question of somebody, like their parents or another mentor couple, if you will, um, about some issue that is sensitive to them until somebody just calls it out and says like, hey, it's okay that we talk about this hard thing, right? We see that in like individuals, but then, it's also true for couples. Um, so
Hmm.
not afraid to call things out occasionally, but I never tell people straight up, you need to break up now.
Well, this is the first time of everything.
Yeah, I'm sure convinced to do it for I guess,
Right.
certain scenarios.
For the lore, just once. Yeah.
I remember a couple of years ago, I was walking down Main Street with Sarah, and there was this couple sitting on a bench on Main Street, and they looked like they were kind of having a like tense conversation.
Hmm.
And so I just to like be a rabble rouser, I was like, "What's up, guys? What are you doing? Breaking up?" And they're like, "Yes, yes, we are breaking." So then I offered to mediate their breakup and sit between them.
You did this with people you didn't know.
Wyoming Catholic students.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I
okay.
knew that.
Okay.
I
I
understand.
thought you were like walking down the streets of Golden, Colorado, and you're like, "What's up, guys?"
What are you guys doing?
Yeah,
Breaking up?
breaking up. I've got some buddies I can imagine doing that.
No, these were students of the college, but I did not know them that well. But it worked
What are
out.
you guys doing? Breaking up? Matter of fact, we are. So you sat down and mediated this breakup
I mean, to a certain degree.
to a certain degree. I mean, how far into the this is fantastic.
I did a classic. All right, Sally, you get to talk. That's not her real name. Making this up.
Yep, yep.
Sally, you get to talk first.
Mm-hmm.
What are your feelings right now? What would you like to apologize for? And what would you like to plan to do in the future? And then turned it back to Johnny. Johnny, what are your feelings right now? And blah, blah, blah. Anyway,
Were they sitting down and at least one of them was planning a breakup, or were they sitting
yeah.
down and they got into a fight and then that turned?
Oh, I don't know how it came about.
Okay. No, this was someone, Sally or Johnny.
Somebody knew it was time.
It's up.
Yep.
Wow.
But anyway,
That is fantastic. Let's get them on the podcast. Yeah.
That'd be funny.
I think they're definitely both married to other people now. So
Oh,
Oh,
well, that worked out.
we can sit them on different sides of the table.
Yeah.
Our
remember how I was saying earlier that like respect is pretty key in having those tense conversations.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take your word for it. Yeah. This is
Anyway,
too entertaining.
no, we really try to avoid, we're not therapists. We're not,
Okay.
we're just another couple to walk with people and like help ask these questions and
Right.
share insights we've experienced, but we try not to. We definitely don't, yeah, play around with trying to be therapists or something like that.
Maybe that is a bit of a
There's
temptation.
there is a good, I mean, very good and beautiful role for a marriage counselor within a marriage and
Hmm.
for individuals prior to marriage and even for the couple.
I read a book that said that no matter how healthy the marriage is, every couple should have marriage counseling.
Yeah,
Do you think that's true?
I think it's not going to hurt.
Hmm.
And like I was saying before, it's fun when you love and respect each other. Then it's
Hmm.
like, let's
Okay.
explore each other, like each other's personalities, each other's communication styles, our history, our expectations around things. Hey, do you remember last Tuesday when that hard thing happened and we got in a disagreement? What now that we're calmed down and we're with an expert who can help us like walk through where did that come from? Let's like be curious about this stuff. It is like you do love this person, so it's pretty fun to talk about how you can love them better,
Hmm.
right? And learn more about them, etc. And just I think for a lot of couples I've talked to, it's really nice to have a guaranteed appropriate place for the stuff to go
Hmm.
for the hard questions, the hard conflict, the uncertainty about something in the marriage, whatever. It's beautiful to have, hey, I know this can, we can definitely talk about it with each other, but we can also process it with this person.
Right.
And what we really try to encourage couples to do is, we have to have relationships with couples that are older than us, with couples that are kind of around the same state in life as us, and have conversations with them about these things, so that there's other places for it to go to, and we hear other ideas and other ways of approaching different challenging parts of life,
Hmm.
and like this is how this couple, chose to have more kids or not. This is how this couple chose the career change. This is how this couple navigated conflict avoidance. This is, etc. Um, yeah. But anyway, yeah, marriage counseling can be like an excellent place for stuff to go.
Sure. Sure. Good thought.
And it's like figure it out while it's easy.
I've heard
When
that
it gets
before.
hard, then
Yeah.
have the tools.
Yeah. You know where I heard that was Andrew Schultz, actually,
Okay.
the comedian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, I think he's actually a really insightful guy. I think in a way you have to be insightful to be truly funny. So I think there's a lot of comedians who have really good insights and then their career is making people laugh, but the insights are real and
Yes,
they can talk about it
absolutely.
in a straighter way when they're not up on stage. Um, but he said something very interesting, which is, yeah, get these issues and potential landmines out in the open and sorted through
Yeah,
early on when you guys are getting along great and when you guys
totally.
are really enjoying being around each other and the misunderstandings and the little cuts and traumas or micro traumas haven't built up.
Totally.
Yeah, head it off at the pass to somebody. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, let's take a quick break and we'll come back for more.
Yep.
All right.
So when was the last time you thought you were gonna die?
Oh my gosh. Oh man. Okay. I have a few instances. I would say this. Wow, man, this last fall, elk hunting, I shot a beautiful bull, and I shot him in some tight lodgepole pine, and he went about 10 feet and stumbled into a bog,
Oh, uh-huh.
and bull of a lifetime for me, and I run through the woods excited that that I got a good shot on him. And then I see him slowly sinking into muskeg and have like pretty visceral reaction to that reality sinking in. And uh,
He's flailing around.
no, he's dead,
Oh.
but he's slowly sinking into muskeg. And so I threw my pack off, and uh, thankfully I had 7 mil rope with me. So again, thin cord, and I tied off his rear hocks to a tree, but then proceeded this insane process of processing an entire elk up to my beyond my waist in muskeg. Thankfully, he's kind of stuck on some logs right on the top of the muskeg, but I have to get fully in this muskeg to process him.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I was, I tried to be smart, and I I built like a block and tackle pulley with some carabiners and stuff and I pulled on him as hard as I could, and I got him to move a few inches out of the really deep stuff. And I put some, broke up some lodgepole logs for that I could hypothetically sit on, and but long story short, I get done processing this animal as it's getting dark, and I get out of this muskeg, and I've got like 60 plus pounds of mud head to toe
Oh,
while I'm doing everything I possibly can do to keep my meat clean.
sure.
And I was like, well, I'm not gonna hike to the truck right now with, a full meat load on my back plus all of this muskeg on me. So I just stripped down naked in the woods, and I just left those clothes there and put my rain gear on and hiked, with a full meat load all the way out to the truck. I had hung the rest of the meat and hiked, through this area I was hunting in Wyoming has an unreal amount of deadfall. That's just the crisscrossing deadfall will be up to 5, 6 feet off the ground. And so trying to navigate that with a full meat load on just takes hours and hours. And I got back to a trail, hiked all the way back out to the truck that night. And I didn't feel like yeah, I felt like I was going to die in as much as I was just exhausted.
Mm.
And just beat up from such a big day, and got back to the truck and dropped that load off and slept hard that night. Went back and got the rest and did it all a few more times. But uh, yeah, that was a pretty intense, yeah, couple days just loading that elk out and just getting trashed physically. But there's feels good too. I love that. But other times have definitely been more, oh, I'm physically at risk of dying here in the backcountry,
Mm.
um, with predaceous animals, less predaceous animals, but aggressive animals like moose. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, I got
geez.
charged by a big bull moose a few years ago. That was, it was less like he was trying to scare me off and more like he was hunting me to kill me.
Whoa.
But
What do you think was going on there?
it was I was out grouse hunting, and it was the rut, and I saw him across a bog, so I just made some noise so you'd know I was there. And lo and behold, a couple minutes later, he just charged me down the trail. Like he disappeared into the woods. I thought we were all good. And then a couple minutes later, he came like a freight train down the trail, and I yelled at him and, made myself big and everything, and stood my ground because I'm like, I've never had a moose actually continue, not bluff. And he didn't bluff. He stopped and he looked at me for a second, screaming at him, and then he charged me again. And with a bear, predaceous animal, we're not going to run away. But with a moose, I'm running away. And I ran into some aspen on the side of the trail, and I fell over. And I'm sure it's probably more dramatic in my memory than it was, but I remember tripping in the aspen and looking over my shoulder and seeing this moose pushing aspen trees over with his antlers, with his big paddles coming after me. And I got up and I kept running away. And I was like, okay, I'll just run off trail for a while and just get some distance. And you can't really make it through these tight aspens. And I make it back out to the trail, a ways later. I ran for a long, just jogged through the woods for a long time out to a different trail. And lo and behold, few minutes later, he pops his head out down the trail again and charges me again. And I said, "All right, that's it. This is the last time." And shot up in the air with my 12 gauge, emptied my bird shot out because I was grouse hunting, so I had bird shot in there and
Mm-hmm.
didn't shoot at the moose, just shot in the air. Because I was like, I want to do everything I can to avoid shooting this animal. And loaded double aught buck in my 12 gauge, saying, "All right, this is it. If he comes again, there's only so much I can do." And that shooting in the air, he stopped and he made some noise at me, moose in the rut, just making noise, "Mwah, mwah," and then turned off into the woods and he was gone. So he was in competition with me, or he thought I was in competition with him
Oh, it wasn't a
for
sort of
territory or something.
defending
And
the harem from a perceived threat. It
well,
was.
that, or I, just being riled up from being a bull moose in the rut.
It's a very intense time for me.
Yeah,
Whoa.
but yeah, most other times I've had some intense encounters with moose before, but they just bluff off normally, and you give them space. A cow with a calf, if you give them space, the cow will lay off because it's easier, not a threat to the calf. But
Mm-hmm.
not this guy. He was real mad. But yep, that happened once.
Wow. Pushing over the aspen with his paddles. I want to get him. And that's why you ran into the aspen because you figured.
Just tight forest. I didn't want him to be able to fit through, and I mean, it was also convenient. It was right next to me, so.
That's helpful.
But
Yeah. I remember seeing a moose on my second Knowles trip. And gosh, I just remember thinking that thing looks like a ship moving through the
totally
woods. It's so big, right?
massive, yeah,
Hmm.
huge animals. So
And I grew up, well, I shouldn't say I grew up. In high school, I was around a lot of horses. And so I thought I knew what big mammals looked like, right? Like, yeah, I've seen horses, they're big. But
mhm,
man, you see that moose because they're big and they're tall. Like those legs of theirs
totally.
are so long,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, I remember looking at this moose and thinking, its shoulders, it looks like it's 10 feet in the air. I think that's probably an exaggeration, but
Totally.
that's the
It
that's the
feels that way
impression it
though.
makes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I've encountered, I mean, even just the bears I've encountered, I must have encountered, I've had a ton of bear encounters.
Hmm.
And I've had a few, more aggressive encounters, but none of which were as determined as that moose was.
Hmm.
And, you know, no, most bear encounters I've had have just been I've been able to stand my ground and yell, and the bear, bluffs and runs away. And I'm, 95% of the encounters I've had, the bears run away in the first place. And in
Hmm.
the rare couple instances where the bears actually come towards me, they've bluffed and ran off.
These mostly black bears or grizzly bears or both?
Both,
Both.
yeah, a lot of grizzly bears in the Absaroka Range,
Hmm.
and had a lot of time out there with them,
Yeah.
and a lot of black bears too. But
Well, that grizzly population in the Absarokas is beyond the ability of the environment to sustain, correct? I mean, because that's where there's an active effort to put bears in there because they're being taken away from more touristy areas. Is that
I
a
would
correct
I
understanding?
would be nervous to follow that narrative to all of its logical conclusions there.
Okay.
I do, bears are definitely relocated there, but I would definitely want to like chat with Wyoming Game and Fish about their particular strategies for relocation for the individual bears that get put there. Because it is definitely not well, there's a bear in Wyoming. Let's put him in the Absarokas.
There's
There
a
are,
bear near a picnic bench. We got to get him to the Absarokas right now.
yeah, there's definitely,
Get the trank gun.
there's definitely a management plan in place there that's built by smarter people than me. And I don't pretend to just be like, well, they're just doing whatever they want or something. There's thought going into it. But yeah, there's a ton of grizzly bears there and a ton of black bears. And I tell students when we're about to go into the Absorcas, just imagine you are stepping across the fence at the bear exhibit at the zoo. Like that's what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are loud and together and do what we, do a good food storage and everything we teach our students to do, we never see them ever. Very, very rarely. Um, but it's when I'm by myself out there, when I'm hiking into a group, when I'm, being quiet, that's when I see them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're everywhere. Yeah. Yep. There's a lot of them.
Like that. Yep. There's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
They have typically pretty poor eyesight.
Mm-hmm.
Is that?
Yeah. Their eyesight is one of their poorer senses. Yeah. But their eyes still work. I think that's kind of maybe an exaggerated myth sometimes.
Oh,
But
right. People
yeah.
say, oh, they have poor eyesight. And so then people think, oh, bears are blind.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is not the case. But
interesting. When they're moving around, they're mostly relying on scent and feel. Is that how they live most of their day?
no, they use their eyeballs. Definitely.
No. What I mean is they're like in their search for food
Oh,
or
sure.
to navigate their own
But
territory.
my understanding, scent is mega huge.
Okay. Uh-huh.
Number one, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a few in the Tetons when we were out with the boys
Mm-hmm.
for the peak groups.
Gotcha.
But I mean that's a walking bacon drizzle. So I mean, why would if you were a bear, why wouldn't you come to see what can be had?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, those boys
Mm-hmm.
like to cook, surprisingly. Yeah. Guys who had probably never cooked in their lives. It just really, man, did they enjoy it? It's because it's fire, honestly. Yeah, you get to play with fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It gives them purpose.
yeah. Yeah, when they're not touching, all holding hands and going out and touching the bear fence.
Yeah.
It was funny. We were talking with some of the gal summer camp counselors, and so we split up into the two groups, and the girls went off on their own group, and the boys went off on their own group. And when we got back, some of the gal counselors were just venting a little frustration of, oh yeah, we were out in the wilderness, and the girls are supposed to be experiencing the beauty of God's creation and having all these insights both into themselves, into the world around them. And they said, but by golly, they just spent so much time talking about the boys at the summer camp. And so they're saying, like, why did every conversation have to be about the boys?
Mm-hmm.
And so then they looked at us and they said, so did the boys, were they talking about the girls the whole time? And one of the guy counselors said, let me tell you what the boys were up to. The boys spent most of their time holding hands and having the guy at the end of that chain of held hands reach out and touch the bear fence. They'd all jump into the air simultaneously and then rotate the guy from the end of the line down to the beginning of the line. And they would repeat the activity.
That's hilarious.
So, no, there were not a lot of conversations about the girls.
High school boys are the reason why all the bear fence batteries are always dead.
Yes, no doubt. No doubt.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. One night we got, oh man, I don't know what got into us, but there was one guy who, like, he was a percussionist in a band back at home or something like that. And then there was another kid who knew like how to yodel, but so then he just started so he knew how to control his voice well enough that he could do a lot with it. So then one guy like started laying down this beat and this other guy just starts going, ooh, ooh, right. And so 20 minutes later, all 12 guys are just dancing around the fire with the sticks and boots and
things got a little
yeah, and exactly, it went primal. And they got like sticks in their hair and they're like getting the charcoal from the fire. They're smearing their faces. They're putting on war paint. And it was totally unregulated and unformulated. It was just this primal urge to participate in the fire dance.
Yeah, that's good though.
It was fun. Yeah, we had a great time. No,
Yeah, that's great. That's
no,
great. Boys need that, and they're not getting it.
no.
Sure.
On our court trip, after we had the night discussions, Jacob Gruber would always have us do a late night rave party. So we put our flashlights on strobe and just be like dancing around silently to nothing, you know? We're
Yeah.
like, only we had a sick beat right now.
Feels like so many courses are have a secret inside joke surrounding stuff like that.
The secret rave, the primal dance. Well,
Yeah.
it's so interesting how it comes out so quickly, right? These are people who grew up presumably with access to tablets, and you put them in the backwoods for 4 days, and within 2 of those days, they're primal, right? I mean, it comes out, the behavior exhibits itself really quick. Oh,
Mhm.
and then I mean, we all had to read Lord of the Flies in high school, and there's a little bit of a God, Lord of the Flies. But then you go out with a group of high school boys, and granted, they're not trying to eat each other, but man, there are some ceremonies, right?
Totally.
Yeah, you have to curb the instinct towards hazing. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I think the like most beautiful expressions of it though are oftentimes like what we're labeling right now as like primal behavior is like it's just like celebration of togetherness
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like you know uh the tribe
Right.
like establishing and celebrating the tribe
Hmm.
and the victories and failures of the tribe.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah. You could imagine how much more energy it would have if this was taking place after a kill during a hunt.
yeah, totally.
Right. Like, oh, we eat meat tonight. Right.
Mm.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think you hit on something really important is that these, yeah, that really thematic beat or the fire or the war the paint, right, doing something in unison especially, right, and to a sort of rhythm, and you're in unison and you're in rhythm, and then it does bind you together, right? Yeah.
Well, I think it's a, like a recognition too of well, and for our courses, like we're all here in this difficult place and
Mm,
scenario to get into and be in.
mm,
We're here together, and we've done a hard thing together,
mm.
and it's good and beautiful.
Yep.
Now we can like celebrate that and kind of feel some release
Mm.
from our life.
Mm-hmm. Some
That
catharsis.
yeah, some catharsis and yeah, the celebration of life being good
Mm-hmm.
and being in a good place with good people, having struggled to get there,
Sure.
right?
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Struggle to get here. Yeah, we struggled together to get here. Now we can celebrate being here together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I wish we had had a little bit more of that on my first winter trip when I was a freshman. That was there was no celebration on that trip. We were some grumpy elves.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we were up in Pinedale. I mean, I think there's a lot of exaggerations that come out of that. The legends around that first year, right? Oh, the Navy SEALs tapped out, but the WCC students, they stayed in. It's like, no, it wasn't, guys. It wasn't Navy SEALs. It was a course left the field. That is true. I don't know that Navy SEALs tapped out,
Yeah.
but but I do remember that moment being the first time I thought I might die. Yeah,
Mm.
because I was up in the middle of the night and we were in tents and it was -30 and the
Mm.
sleeping bags weren't working so great.
Totally.
And we were still pretty fresh. We just didn't know some of the stay warm habits and
Yeah.
skills, right? So
Like Quincy's are way warmer.
Quincy's are way warm. Quincy's are luxury living.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, we got into, I mean, we got into the sites at probably 4:30
Yeah,
at night. So,
totally.
right. So it's, I mean, and it's early January, so it's getting dark at 5:15. Right. We didn't have time to build a Quincy. So, all right, guys, we're gonna sleep in tents tonight. And yeah. So that happened one night, and then the next night we were still in tents. And I remember getting up and thinking, yeah, I should probably hydrate and maybe I should grab a chocolate bar, but dang, it's cold. And I remember this distinct thought, oh, and this could kill me. This could kill. I actually I think I got to be careful because I could be dead by morning.
Wow.
And so I had worked on farms in high school, so I had been kicked at by horses or animal or like tractors taking off on me, what have you. So I had had scares, right? But this was my first experience of just this imminent looming threat,
Yeah.
right? That's just there and not going away. It
Mm,
wasn't this scary moment. It was just this scary environment. Oh,
sure.
yeah. Yeah. I think it was good for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It always calls to mind like how well it begs the question, how do you respond to that
Sure.
kind of intensity?
Hmm.
And I'm never in intentionally in scenarios where it's like putting myself in that position where something like that could happen, and or like death is a real likely possibility, right? Like we do so much risk management to make that not the case for our students in the field, and that transfers to my personal recreation too. But even in my like personal recreation when I'm hunting and stuff, when that moment comes of like, oh, I'm packing an elk out by myself at night in grizzly country, and there might be a grizzly bear in these woods. Like, how am I going to respond as a man?
Hmm.
Well, yeah, I just like haven't, yeah, having to ask those kinds of questions, I think is just really good. I think it's a good kind of challenge to have. Not to the degree where it's like, okay, go put yourself in like the near proximity of death, but like how will I respond to intensity? Not just can I physically defend myself,
Sure.
but how will I respond to that level of stress? And that's where I feel like other situations I've been in and guiding and instructing where I've been on the end of a rope saying like, okay, how will I respond to this near occasion of death?
Hmm.
um, how it's more often than not, again, it's that perception that I could die right now, not necessarily like, you know, that being the most likely outcome or something. But needing to respond to that stress has been, yeah, just really formative, especially in my young adult life.
Hmm.
It's really formative. Um, and yeah, makes the celebration of um, yeah, like we were talking about before, the celebration of life so much more like, good and exciting. I always talk about when I'm teaching instructor courses and stuff, when you are learning how to drive, your mom or your dad backseat driving always annoys the daylights out of you, right? Like, oh, dad, don't like, mom, leave me alone. I got it. I know how to drive, right? I'll turn my blinker on. Don't worry about it. And mom or dad is saying, no, you don't understand. Like, it's so good. Like, life is so good. I really don't want you to get hurt. I really don't want you to have a car accident. And then you think that's crazy until you get in your first car accident.
Mm.
And then you're like, oh, dang, that's why mom or that's why dad was so insistent on me to be careful. Right. Now I understand how bad is. Right. And what is actually on the line here. And we see that in risk management, in wilderness instruction, and in these sports too. Of like, yeah, I want the instructors I'm mentoring to understand this is how bad is. Like, trust me, I've seen some car accidents. This is how bad is.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
so so please listen to me, and I'm gonna be your dad who's backseat driving while you're first instructing. So because you got to trust me that bad is bad.
Ah,
So having those experiences of the car accident, right? Having those experiences of, um, yeah, really high intensity, I feel like I'm gonna die, can then translate into, um, helping other people create a better learning environment for us, rather
right.
than just
It's almost as if
chasing.
you have to impress upon them what the stakes are. You've never played
Yeah,
poker for this level of of consequence,
absolutely.
right? Like you have to impress upon people. This is not you may understand the activity, okay. You don't understand what's on the table.
Yeah. And like I, yeah, a couple seasons ago, brought an instructor out I was mentoring in ski guiding and brought them into some terrain that I knew was going to be avalanche prone that day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew the snow structure there. I knew that if we went on this ridge line that we would see some avalanche activity, but we would be, quote unquote safe. We would
Yeah.
be, not in the line of those avalanches. And we got on top of this ridge and I said, "Hey man, why don't you just poke down this ridge a little bit into that big wind slab right there?" And he did, and then the whole face of this mountain ripped, and ran about 1,000 feet. And we were totally, totally safe standing on top of the ridge, well away from it, right? And he just looked at me and said, like, "Okay, let's go home. I'm done." Like, oh, like today, skiing today? No, I'm done skiing. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like
Oh.
that was so much bigger and scarier and louder and faster and worse than I ever thought it was going to be.
And
Right.
his
So,
experience was I'm just kind of poking with my pole and
and
kind
then
of
all of a sudden the
heading,
whole mountain
and then a
falls down
mountainside
and,
falls away from your feet.
and we're talking about like ripping trees out of the ground, like unsurvivable avalanche.
Hmm.
And it was just a great,
And it looks like and feels like an earthquake. I mean, it's
oh yeah, like the ground shook, the snowpack shook. It makes noise. Like snow doesn't make noise. Like, well, yeah, whole mountain of snow moving makes noise. And anyway,
whoa.
just that, that experience was so good to say that's what we're trying to avoid ourselves and anyone ever being caught in. Right?
Hmm.
That's why even when it's so fun to ski really good deep snow, I'm going to go ski the super mellow terrain most of the time because that is so bad. Right. And like, um, yeah, we need those experiences sometimes to prove points to our kind of monkey brain
Hmm.
that says, no, fun things are fun.
Fun things are fun.
But yeah, but you might die. Um,
Uh,
and it's good to pursue fun things that still carry risk with them. We need that. Um, but we can't just like forget the risk and the what is on the table, right?
yeah. Yeah.
And
Have you ever had an experience that made you think, maybe I'm done with the backcountry?
um, yeah, I mean, I've lost some friends in the backcountry that, you know, uh, that definitely made me, think twice, think a lot more than twice about is this recreation worth it? Is this mode of teaching worth it, right? Like educating people in the backcountry through what we do. Like, and always needing to remember, like, yeah, the way those folks passed away had nothing, was not the style of activity we do on core trips, right? Like,
Hmm.
folks dying in avalanches, or that's not what, when I ski guide folks on core trips, yeah, we get to have some fun skiing downhill, but we are so conservative that there's just no way that that's ever going to happen. But yeah, those losing some folks in the backcountry, some friends in the backcountry, of course, like hits really close to home. Um, and also just working on the SAR team locally here. Yeah, I just had experiences of like, I'm just tired of this kind of risk sometimes, where it's like, I feel like I'm managing the same kind of, I'm talking about these scenarios all the time. We talk about them in Woofer, then we talk about them on instructor course and all of these other trainings. And then I go on SAR calls that involve these kinds of things. And then I am on the phone with our instructors in the middle of the night talking about this stuff who are, and like the same kind world of risk gets a little tiring sometimes. And I'm like, not necessarily like, oh man, the wilderness just hurts people. No, that's not been my experience, but like um, the, the kind of risk gets old. Man, it's hard. Like I'm on the other end of this phone right now. I've got 5 core courses who
Mm-hmm.
are texting me like, "Yep, everything's good tonight." Unless it's not, and then they're texting me, "Hey, this, that, and the other
Right,
going on. We got
right.
to do this evac.
Is
We've got
this
a
a
6 p.m. meeting."
UTI?
Yeah, yeah,
It is a UTI. How bad is it? What do we do with them next? Yeah.
yeah. And I don't do that alone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I've got a whole team and doctors and stuff. But like, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
But I feel like every intense activity I do in the backcountry, I've thought about quitting at one point in time or another. Like
Interesting.
where it's just been really hard or kind of like a scary situation. Like
Mm-hmm.
climbing, I definitely remember being on huge alpine climbing routes and saying, I'm done. After this route, it's over. I don't want to do this anymore. This stinks. I'm just scared and tired and I'm not having fun. But then that always changes, right? And like, same thing, skiing, I've had that experience. Hunting, I've had that experience.
Mm.
Whatever. Like,
This is my last kill.
this is No, this is my last time walking 30 miles in the wilderness and not seeing any elk.
Right, right, right. This is my last exercise of futility.
Totally.
Yeah. Going back and I'm buying a cow. We can put a cow in the backyard.
Yeah, you start doing some serious math, like at a certain number of days being unsuccessful hunting. Like,
Sure.
okay, I bought the tags for this much, my ammo costs this much, my gas to get here costs this much, my time costs this much, the food I've eaten costs this much. Should I just be buying beef?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Say no to that voice. But
Right. That's the elk talking.
that's the elk,
They're
right?
trying to convince you to go home. Yeah.
Uh,
The spirit of elk past.
yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, that's great.
Yeah.
Huh. How oh man, time's slipping away from us. I can't let you go without talking about fundraising a little bit more.
Oh, geez.
Uh I feel that we've referenced it a couple of times, but man, I honestly can't wrap my head around it. I mean, I think I can kind of wrap my head around being single, you're on your own, your expenses are so low. All right. But I mean, how did you make the jump to raising a family, being married, then raising a family, and still you're still relying on that fundraising?
Mhm.
I mean, do you ever just drive down the highway and just grip the steering wheel until your knuckles are right, thinking, "Oh my gosh, I've raised my last dime."
I mean, doesn't everybody do that
I
with
don't know. Some people are not anxious.
uh,
Russell Crowe gave an interview one time, and he said during the vast majority of his career, every time a movie wrapped, he always thought, "Well, that's probably it for my acting career, right? Because who's going to want to hire me again?" And this is Russell Crowe. I mean, this is
yeah.
one of the most recognized actors of the 90s and 2000s
Hmm.
who was saying, "Yeah, I figured I'm probably done. This is probably it." And I've certainly felt that way at certain points in my career, thinking, "Oh, this is the last shot of success I'll ever have." Uh, but with fundraising, it seems so much of that combined with a visceral sense of survival. Is that true? Am I imagining this correctly?
I mean, that's a really common way to think about this.
Hmm.
It's wrong. in as much as, um, well, it's not wrong to feel that way.
Mm.
But I think the misbelief that that points to is like, okay, let's define what success is.
Mm-hmm.
Let's define where money comes from and whose it is. And let's define like appropriate ways for that money to get to me. And the reality with fundraising, you ask like, how did I make the step to from single guy living out of a truck to family life off of fundraising is, well, the Lord called me to do this thing. And if he's calling me to do this thing, he will make a way for me to do it. End of story. Well, there's a lot more to the story, but
There's more to the story, but there's not more to the guiding principle.
exactly like the Lord, like where does my provision come from? Does it come from my employer? Right? Does it come from my industry? Does it come from my role at my job? No, my provision comes from the Lord, period. And sometimes it comes from the Lord through money and from an employer, right? Like, um, but the route to me doesn't matter as much, right? Like,
Hmm.
um, where we get caught in this lie that like I provide for myself by working hard. I provide for a family by working hard. Well, that is true to a certain degree, but that's coming from the Lord still. And, you know, there's a bunch of other things to address with how we think about money, um, and think about, yeah, just our security, in order to cross the bridge of fundraising. Because, first of all, like fundraising is biblical, right? Fundraising is uh, just, right? Like, um, I, just because I'm a missionary and I fundraise doesn't mean that I only eat ramen and hot dogs, right? Like the Lord
Mm.
desires my provision.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not prosperity gospel, but
Mm-hmm.
my provision. Like he wants, if he's calling me to this work, then I should be healthy enough to do the work in an ideal circumstance, right? Like, and I'm going to do better work if I live in a stable environment, eat healthy food, etc. Like, and so when we talk about our fully funded fundraising numbers, that's what we're saying. Like, I need to make enough money to provide for my needs and for my family so that I can go about this mission in a healthy way, right? And honestly, fundraising enables me to do that more than if I just made a salary, I'd say,
Oh,
um,
interesting.
where I am able to show up better to the work I do because of fundraising. Um, where I've done secular guiding, I've done instruction for other programs and institutions, and it's kind of like a, gig to gig operation then, where you're
Mm-hmm.
always thinking about where's my next paycheck coming from? Where's my next, um, yeah, how am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to make my next paycheck? And I was like living out of the back of my truck and then out of a camper for a while. And it was like, all right, I'll work this course and this course and this course, and then I'll have money. And then, I can chill for a while, but then things will get tight and I got to, bide my time until these summer courses when I'll make more money. And it wasn't, no part was like, I'm just on this singular mission right now and I can focus on this mission. No part of me was like, let's spend a lot of time thinking about ministry right now. Let's spend a lot of time thinking about experiential education right now. It was like, when am I going to guide people at climbing next to make some money, to provide for my needs? And like, anyway, um, so there is more stability in fundraising in that like we're able to make just better, more sustainable income, than just like kind of one off.
Sort of gig guiding.
Yeah, and then also just the reality that fundraising allows us to bring this ministry to more people, where you know, Aunt Sally is never going to be able to bring people into the wilderness to encounter the Lord because Aunt Sally is 75 and this was never a part of her life. But Aunt Sally can support me,
Mm-hmm.
and by extension, help make this mission possible. Right. So she can be a part of something that she otherwise never would be able to. Right. And then I get to show the fruits, the particular fruits of this mission to Aunt Sally, and in that relationship, minister to her. Right. So there is
Do you
kind of
ever
this.
get frustrated though, feeling as if you have to go do a job and then once that job is done, you have to come home and do another job to pay for your work?
Yes, absolutely. I
Uh-huh.
feel that way, but it's kind but simply because that's disordered though. Like, um, that's kind of backwards. Where like I go and normally, normally I fundraise way at the beginning of the year,
Okay.
and we really concentrate a lot of our fundraising work to different parts of the year so that we can just be doing the work we do
Ah, mm-hmm.
and not fundraising all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, sometimes it's hard to like, yeah, come home from a long time in the field or, a big season working in administration here, doing the hard work and then feel like, oh shoot, I gotta fundraise
I gotta
a few
send
days
some
next
thank you
week.
letters. I
Yeah,
got
like,
to reach out to some new folks.
yeah, yeah. And that, I mean, but that sounds more like managing workload than like you know, who could possibly imagine asking somebody to do that? No, like it's just some workload management thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know. Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I admit I struggle with it thinking about it for the sake of my friends or other people that I know who live by that model. Uh, not only because not only because of the emotional fact that you don't know how fundraising is going to go in a given year, right?
Mm.
But also I could I could imagine feeling as if your heart is divided between, well, I really love the work, but then uh, I have to go do this entirely other task in order to make the work possible. And I guess in my mind, I've always imagined that being a tough division.
Sure.
And you're saying it is tough, but at the same time, you're you're opening up an opportunity for other people to be part of something that they're not physically or state of life enabled to do.
Mhm. And like, it's the Lord's money. Like,
Mm.
he's not concerned. He's got enough money to make this happen. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
he needs to have happen, he has enough money to do it. And he can move it around however he pleases.
Mm.
And if I can ask and say, hey, just so folks know, like my wife and I, we're an option, or Core Expeditions is an option, or Wyoming Catholic College is an option, or whatever. Lord, you move it where you need it into what you desire. And lots of good fundraising. It's just building relationships with people and saying, I like this thing. Do you like this thing? I think this is worthy of support and worthy of mission. Do you think it is? And some people say no. Wilderness ministry is interesting, but third world country poverty strikes my heart a lot harder. You
Sure.
know, and yeah, things like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would say
You hold these things loosely, you could say, right, if the Lord disposes for this work to be done, it'll be done. If it becomes impossible, then that is our sign that it's not the Lord has not disposed it.
what's funny to me is just that there's a lot of lies in these same exact situations not existing in a corporate job. Like we just call fundraising other things in other industries. Like, oh, he's
Like
not,
sales.
Sure, sales or
Mission?
uh, investments, right? Like seeking venture capitalists, right? Like same exact thing. Hey, I here's a cool idea I had. Do you want to invest money in it? And
Mm-hmm.
then, I'll give you a return. Well, the return in ministry is fruit, like, not necessarily, but like knowing that the Lord's that charity is happening, right? Um, but these other situations too that people are so afraid of in fundraising, the exact same problem exists everywhere else. Like it's pretty impossible to escape fundraising. Everybody fundraises, right? And sometimes it's called different names. But yeah, like, oh, the fundraising might not be certain for a given year. Well, is your salary certain for a given year?
It feels more certain.
Yeah, what's really funny is that the charitable money in the US is more stable than the general economy.
Mm,
It's like charitable giving will remain and actually increase when the economy gets worse,
mm.
right? Like it's interesting.
Okay.
But we're afraid because I am asking, people are more likely to say no or to quit. Would say like, I don't want to support you anymore. Whereas if I'm producing a product as a worker for your capitalist company, which is still a good thing. I'm not hating on non-fundraising jobs, but I might think my work will always be worthy of money.
Mm,
Therefore, I will always get paid and I will be stable and I will continue to make more and more money. Okay, well, yeah, I hope that's the case, but if people no longer buy your widgets, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so that's very obviously very different than in the ministry world where we're saying, yeah, no matter what the economy does or what politics do or whatever, we are going to seek to bring the Lord to people. Mhm.
oh, that's great stuff. We are unfortunately out of time, but man, I wish there's so many questions I didn't even get a chance to get didn't get a chance to ask. But it just means we'll have to have another conversation. So thanks for
Sounds
so much
good.
for joining us, man. It
Yeah.
was a real pleasure to have you.
Yeah. Thank you guys. I was glad we could make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cheers, everybody, and see you next time.